Hey there, hope you're doing well. We're going to talk in the next few minutes about some trading activity that I noticed today in the market, and maybe you'll find that useful and interesting. But before we get started, and the typical investment disclaimer: I'm not a licensed advisor. Your trades are the result of your actions, not mine. Trading involves a significant risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. In particular, past developments do not necessarily indicate future results. Graphs, charts, tables, and any other assets that I'm going to share here are provided for illustrative purposes only. Investing is subject to market risks. Investors acknowledge and accept the potential loss of some or all of an investment's value, and sometimes even more than the original investment amount. If you have any doubts as to the merits of an investment, you should seek advice from an independent financial advisor. I'm not one of them. There is an inherent risk in investing, and there is no guarantee of any return of a return on any investments made. So now that we've sort of gotten that out of the way, we can actually go to the content of this this video. So we're going to take three different securities and and talk about what happened today, why it was interesting, and sort of try to maybe draw some inferences to the extent possible from that. So without further ado, let me just share my screen. Okay. So you should see Y charts here. What we are going to do, I actually plotted this before I clicked record, some of these numbers just to save some time. But what I did here was essentially took the day. So we're taking three securities, by the way: Meta, Tesla, and Palantir. Meta and Tesla, I'm quite certain everybody's familiar with. Palantir, multi-billion dollar companies, like what net worth of 160 or 70 billion dollars. So you may have heard about them, or if you have not, just definitely look them up. Very interesting company in the space of AI, and they've made tremendous progress, from their product standpoint, from what I understand, and also definitely from the return standpoint, right? That's their public information that all of us can check out. But what happened today, which is going to keep the focus on today. Today, as you know, if you're familiar with the terminologies, it was called the triple witch day. It's a kind of an interesting terminology. I believe it refers to like the third Friday of March, June, September, and December. That's what is called the triple witch day. That's when three kinds of securities. That's from what I can, from my understanding, the stock market index futures, the stock market index options, and stock options, all of them expire on the same day, which adds to more volatility, right? The market has been pretty volatile this year, but there's one more reason for the volatility. So just keep that in mind. But let's go back to focusing on these three securities. So for the entire day, again, you keep an eye on this section here when we're talking about. When we're having this conversation. Uh, Keep an eye there, and also keep an eye on where I highlight on the chart here. So for the whole day, Palantir was up 8.5% in the green. Tesla was minus 3.1%, and Meta was minus 1.36%. I'm going to ignore the second decimal most likely, but you can look that up. So that's how the day went. That's a fair bit of activity. Now, first thing to note is 8% up on one security, minus 3 on the other, and minus 1 on the third. They're pretty widely separate, different numbers, but that a single day is never a reflection of a security in entirety. But you can sort of get an idea, if you will. Palantir is a stock that's highly volatile. If you look up the trading volume, there's probably several million shares traded today. Tesla, needless to say, a lot of activity, especially in the last month or so, but even otherwise has been generally very healthy trading volumes. Meta, not as much as the others, but there's still, it's traded quite a bit, right? It's one of those hyperscalers, one of the top 7 companies out there, by size and whatnot, and innovation. So that's kind of giving you an idea as to the type of trade, the fluctuation for the day. But what we want to focus more on is a few different things. One is, okay, what was the gain, the minus and the plus for the entire day, the whole trading day of 6.5 hours between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern time. Second is we want to look at the lowest point of the day for each of those securities and the highest point of the day. We'll ignore the time, but just see what the breadth was, right? The width of, essentially, I'm using these words loosely, We're taking the lowest point of the day and the highest point of this day and doing a delta. See what that looks like. And in addition to that, we're also going to look at a couple other things. We're going to focus on the first hour of trading, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then the last 30 minutes of trading, 3:30 till close, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And last but not least, just look at one subset of the last few minutes because that's also interesting. Now, what I did was I just took this. I took each of this, and what I did was I took, hey, between 9:30 and 10:30. I basically I don't want to select this because then I'm going to lose this view. But I did something like that. I guess I can't get out. Okay, it's too late. Okay, this is what I did basically. But I'm going to go back to the day because it shows more than a day. So I'm going to take 9:30. That's what we're interested in. And then we're going to go all the way up to a little bit at 4 o'clock, right? That's for the day. So let's look at what happened. And it's going to be very interesting. So I'm going to do a desktop share. So you see everything because I'm going to switch back and forth. Okay, perfect. So you see here, we move this. Oops, moved the wrong one. Okay. I would like to see that and this side by side. Yep, that's good. So the whole day, we saw that Palantir +8, Tesla -3, and Meta -1.36. Let's see the lowest and highest points of the day. So what I did was I just, visually, ballparked it, and it's to the naked eye. I don't know if it's the exact lowest point of the day, but it's close enough. I noticed that Palantir, between the lowest and the highest points, there was a fluctuation of what I did was if you go look up this blue here, and I think the lowest point was when it opened. Right when it opened, it was like minus, if you look at 9:30, it was minus 3.18%. And then it closed at plus 8 point something. And just before close, it was at the peak. So the delta was 11.7%. That's huge. I mean, it was not an earnings day. It's not the day after earnings. None of those things. I don't even know if there was any significant news on Palantir. At least I didn't see anything. But there was that window of fluctuation and hit the highest point of not just the year. I think they hit very much close to the highest point ever. It's not just the 52-week high. If memory serves me right, it's the highest ever that Palantir has gotten to. So they are at the top right now. So 11.7%. So if you're a day trader who likes, a lot of volatility, that would have been a great pick for the day, assuming you ended up being on the right side, right? We all hope. Tesla, 6.25%, quite a bit as well, right? It's not as much as 11, almost half of it, but it's still, shy of half, but, more than half actually, right? Half would be like close to less than 6%. So that's a lot too. And Meta, about 3%. And if you're wondering, hey, 3% is not much, I mean, that is quite a bit for a company that's like close to what, $2 trillion or 1.7 trillion, something like that. That is a lot of, fluctuation. Because if you look at companies, there are other companies like I want to say like McDonald's, where there's hardly anything that's happening during the day, right? They don't really move. The needle doesn't even move. So 3% is quite a bit, right? Anything, the way I see it, anything more than 1% is if you're a day trader, maybe that is of interest to you, right? At least it's of interest to me. So the first hour of trading, 9:30 to 10:30, typically is pretty volatile. And then the last half an hour of trading is also very volatile, right? So let's look at the first 1 hour. Palantir moved 5% in the positive. Tesla went up 2.14% and Meta went up 0.82%. So if you are trading during that window, you're like, hey, you know what? This looks like a green day. Everything looks pretty, going up. It's upwards, and maybe you're trying to place a trade a buy, not a short, right? You're trying to buy a position. And if you're done that on Palantir, you'd still been okay because it closed at 8%, you're up 0.3%, but not so much with the other ones, right? But you can see that there was quite a bit of trading activity in the first hour. And it changed by 0.825 and 2.14, but that doesn't mean that was the volatility. We can even look at that in a second. What I mean by that is within the first 1 hour, it could have dropped quite a bit and gone up and come back and forth. So the window, if you did the highest and lowest points for the first hour, that would be a different number than this. Here, I'm just saying what it opened at and what it was at the end of that hour, like at the end of that first hour, which is 10:30 a.m. Palantir was up 5%, Tesla was up zero point 0.2, sorry, 2%, and Meta was up 0.82%. So hopefully, I mean, I'm making the difference clear. I don't have the numbers for the highest and lowest points of the first hour, but we can look it up. The last 30 minutes of trading, Palantir went up 2%, Tesla dropped 2.5%, and Meta dropped 1.2%. So that's another window of time that I've seen plenty of activity, trading activity. So that's quite a bit, right? 2.5, and 1.2. No matter how you look at it, that's a lot of action there. And then let's go to the last. I just picked a window here. The last 8 minutes, Palantir moved up 1.8%. Last 12 minutes, Tesla dropped 2.3. So out of the last 30 minutes where it dropped 2.5, most of that, pretty much all of it, seems to have happened in the last 12 minutes, 2.3 minus 2.3. Same thing with Meta, right? Most of what happened in the last 30 minutes has actually happened in the last 12 minutes, minus 1.3%. So that tells you that there was a fair bit of activity in the last 12 minutes, 8 to 12 minutes, most certainly in the last half an hour. So, if you're a day trader who's actively watching and looking at things and trying to open and close positions in in both directions, meaning buy and sell and short and cover. So those windows might be of interest to you. Like if you had picked these three positions today and focused all your energies on just on these three securities, I mean not position, three securities, you would have created multiple positions, possibly opened and closed them, maybe in both directions, and hopefully you had a good day, right? Hopefully. Uh, but that's not for everybody, right? It's not everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes you could be the type of investor, you're like, you know what, not investor, a day trader who's like, yeah, I want some action, but not so much, right? Not so much seismic volatility. Now, why wouldn't want that? Is because you're reasonably risk averse. But if you're risk averse, you're probably not even doing day trading. But compared to other day traders, probably you're a little bit more risk averse, possibly, right? Because I know people who are like that. So you just pick what's comfortable for you, and then figure out what you need to do to trade. So this is, we've talked about this in a couple of other courses. So let me quickly go showcase our courses. Now, we publish our courses fairly consistently. And we have a platform where the courses get published. It's very affordable, right? As you can see, it's less than $10. They get published on the web platform, and it's available to be consumed on our mobile apps as well. And if you're a course creator, it doesn't have to be finance or software or hardware. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be art, it could be music, whatever it is that you like doing and you're passionate about it, and you want to teach and share your knowledge with other people, the community, and also monetize in the process, certainly hit us up. We'll be happy to host your courses. We do that for free. It doesn't cost you anything. When the sale happens, then you get to monetize a majority of what you charge what you charge your course at, right? We just take a small cut for all of the work that we're doing in the back end and all the value add that we're providing in terms of socializing it, advertising it, marketing it, creating content out of it, and hosting it, right? There's a lot of effort that goes into hosting, not to mention integrating that into our apps as well, right? So you can imagine it's not simple by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, if you're a course creator, definitely hit us up. But coming back to this course, not coming back to the previous courses that relate to this, there's one on day trading part one. You can go to getsnowpal.com and look it up, course number 45. Or you also get day trading part two. This is going to be day trading part three, because we are focusing on you know just taking it a little bit further, right? Just talking more about it. Now, if you've watched this, you purchase this, thank you, much appreciated. Definitely look up all the other courses as well. But I highly recommend you check out the other two courses, because they will give you a lot of context to day trading and a lot of the fundamentals that we haven't necessarily talked about in this course, right? So this is going to be day trading stocks part three. Okay, now let's get back to what we are talking about. Let's actually go. I want to make sure I'm sharing the whole screen up. Let's actually go back to the chart here, right? Let's go back to the chart here. So, you know what? Let me do this. Let me put this where it was. That way the position doesn't change. Now I want to look at here that first hour. Let's look at the highest and the lowest points of the day. And let's see how long we just got getting started. Yep. Between the highest and the lowest points of the day, the first hour. So let's just take this. I'm going to go from here. UI is a little bit, can get a little bit tricky. Can I make this smaller? Actually, let me make it bigger. Okay, and then let me take 9:30, which is where we are at essentially. So take 9:30, and then go all the way up to 10:30. I guess the UI there doesn't exactly tell me, but okay. So what is this? This is a little bit after 10:30, right? Okay. So let's look at highest and lowest points, but actually let me do this. Highest and lowest point. Highest point versus lowest point. I don't want to create a new section, so I'm just going to put it here. Let's look at Palantir. So around, what is the lowest? The lowest point was when it opened actually easily. 3.18, and this is kind of the highest point. So 2.55, right? So it's 5.73. 5.73%. So if you notice, it was 5% between the start and the end of that window. But if you took the highest and lowest point, it was approximately 5.73%. Let's look at it for Tesla. Tesla was minus, okay, wait, hang on. What is the lowest point that Tesla was at? Looking at this blue. Oh, no, that's not Tesla. Looking at this. This is the lowest point. That is minus 4.09. And the highest point was this, right? Oh, no. If you were talking 10:30. So, yep. If you see the next 2 minutes, it went up further, but let's just stick to 10:30. It's minus 0.12, and this was 3.76. So 3.5, caught up 3.5%. So plus 3.5%. Palantir was also plus 5.73. And now we look at Meta. Meta's lowest point, possibly, I'm just ballparking it, something around here, minus 1.19. The highest point was here, minus 0.2, right? So about 1%, right? It's about 1%. And, I should remove the sign, we don't want this line for the fluctuation. Okay. So Palantir had a fluctuation of 5.73% just in the first 1 hour. That's tremendous if you think about it, right? Just 1 hour, 60 minutes, it's 5.73% fluctuation. Tesla 3.5, pretty big number as well. Meta was 1, not too small for a company that big. It's really pretty stable in terms of how it trades, and the trading volume is nowhere close to the other two. So it's still decent fluctuation, because typically you see if it fluctuates only that much for the entire day, for instance, right? I've seen so many days go by that way. So for the 1 hour, it is actually quite a bit. Now let's also look at the last 30 minutes. Let's look at the highest and the lowest points. Let me remove the percentages. Okay, the last 30 minutes, we're going to go reset this, and then we're going to take 3:30, which is somewhere around here, 15:30. Okay, and then till 4 o'clock. Okay, so now at between 3:30 and I think we end here a little bit after 4, so 4 o'clock should be around this line here, just after. Okay, 4 o'clock, they showed that. So the lowest point, I want to say, was this maybe for Meta, minus 0.45. Yep. And then the highest point was this. So 1.3% fluctuation. So 1.3% was what happened for Meta. For Tesla, we'll see that the lowest point probably was this, minus 3.5. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no, that's past 4 o'clock. Sorry. Let me make sure. I didn't go past 4 o'clock for Meta. I might have done that. The highest point is here, minus 0.06, and then the lowest point is 1.75, right? So it's 1.7%, actually 1.7%. So for Tesla, it was, what is the lowest point is around here. It was a 356, it's minus 3.23, and here was 0.57. So 2.7%. That's a 2.7% fluctuation. And then if you look at Palantir, this is minus, this plus 5.26, okay. And then it just before, yep, 8.52 and 5.26, 3.26%. Right? Now let's keep our eyes, focus on this side here. So, these are very interesting, right? We again taking three random securities, if you will, on a random day, for instance, even if it was a triple witch day, and sort of talking through what it means. What can you expect from a day trading standpoint? Now, again, like I said, no single day, no single security, or no single set of securities is a reflection of the big picture. But how else are we going to learn, right? By taking these examples. So, am I recording? So going back, between the highest and lowest points of the day, let's take each of them, right? So Palantir was 11.7% for the whole day, right? But for the first hour, I'm going to put over the number from here. The first hour was 5.73%. And then the last 30 minutes was basically 3.26%. That way we can see all of it in the same line here. First R for Tesla, it's going to be 3.5 and then 2.7. Okay, what is it for Meta? First R, last 13. Okay. First R was 1 and the last 30 was 1.7. Highest was the lowest points of the day. Now compared to where it closed, Palantir was plus 8.15. So I'm just merging all of our numbers basically. Tesla was minus 3.11. Don't lose that. Oh yeah, for Meta it's minus 1.36. Okay, now let's focus on these three lines here, right? So make sure I'm sharing the whole screen. Yes, I am. So just to quickly read those numbers out, Palantir was went up by 8% for the whole, little bit over 8% for the whole day. I'm just going to ignore the decimal for a second. But it actually fluctuated 11.7% for the entire day, right? That's the highest and lowest points. But off that, the first hour, you saw a 5.73% fluctuation. The last 30 minutes, a little bit over 3%. Tesla was minus 3.11, but the highest and lowest points was twice that number, right? Over roughly twice the number. This is, what is it, like 40%, over 40%, like 11.7 is a little bit over 40% of 8.15. This is 3.1, 6.25 is double, right? So the fluctuation during the whole day, the lowest and highest points was twice what happened the entire day. And just in terms of the number, just taking the absolute value without this sign. The first hour, 3.5% and 2.7. And Meta was minus 1.36 for the whole day. The lowest and highest points is 3, and then the first hour was 1 and 1.7. So these numbers are interesting, and I think in general, looking at what happened during the entire day, what happened during the first hour, the last hour, what happened in terms of the between the highest and highest and lowest points between during the first hour, during the last hour, and for the entire day, would give you a good sense of how these securities are performing, how volatile they are. Now, let's say we took these numbers and just not three, let's say we took 30 of these securities, plotted them on a graph and looked at this, it's going to give you a pretty good picture, right? Of those, and you can do it across industries. Now, we picked everything in the space of technology, but you can take this for other companies too, right? Other companies that can be rather volatile. And again, it's important to note that there was no earnings report on any of these today. There was no, I don't know if there's any other significant news either, right? So it was just, from what I can tell, there's nothing specific about these companies. There's no micro news, right? Nothing about these companies in particular. There was the macro, whereas the triple wedge day where there's all of these options and everything, stock index futures and stock futures and stocks actually expired. So there's more trading activity. That's important to note. But let's also look at sort of the trading volume, because that's going to give us a good idea too. So I'm going to pick up a different chart. I'm going to pick up, actually, I'm going to go to Meta. I'm going to add bar charts. On bar charts, I'm going to add Tesla. And I'm going to add, I'm just wondering if there's a way I could add a second. Interesting. Let's see. Am I able to? I would like to see them sort of side by side and look at the volume. This one shows the volume, fairly accurately, if you will. Why am I not seeing volume? Okay. Hang on. I should do it for one day. This is for one day. Is it? I mean, is it that tiny? Because I'm usually this. I'm just looking for a height here, but I don't know why it's. Okay, let's look at Palantir. Oh, it's because it's relative and there was a lot of activity towards the end of day. That's probably what it is. I bet maybe there is a way to add a new security. I would like to compare. Yep, that's what I want. Palantir with Meta. And then I want to also add, what is the other one? Palantir, Meta, and Tesla. Okay. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted. Now, we're going to ignore this. We saw the chart already. We're going to look at the trading volume here. So, again, if you look at the activity at 9:30, what is this trading volume for? Is it only going to show it for? I'm wondering, this is kind of interesting. Even though I added multiple comparisons there, let's see. Let me go to indicators and say volume, even though I have volume already. Volume, add to main pane. And I'm just going to stick to that. Where is the... No, I didn't add it to the main pane. I added it to... Let me go back there. Volume. Add to main pane, add to new pane. I said add to main. Oh, apply to main. That's a bug. Even though I picked that, I guess the drop down didn't select that by default. Okay. Now let's look at this. I have a feeling it's only showing me the volume for one of them. Because this bar here is only for one of them. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to remove. Add volume to new pane. Apply. Oh, same problem. Indicators. Volume to main pane. Main pane. My bad, sorry. I actually wanted on a new pane. Then I need to change this to new pane. Okay, so we'll have to do one after the other. So let's go with the, sort of trading volume. Trading volume How many million shares, right? Let me put that here, put that here. Okay. So let's look at, I mean, I guess it's not, I guess we could look at it for the whole day as well. Yep. So does this show me the trading volume for the entire day? I have other places where I can look. Each of these tools does one few things very nicely, and then for the others, you want to rely on some other tool or dig deeper and get used to this tool, for instance. Okay. I don't know what the trading was. Actually, let's go to Palantir stock. Let's go to Google. Does it show open market cap? I'm not seeing. Does it show a trading volume here? Average volume is 85 million. Okay. What was the volume for the day? I use a different tool that shows this really quickly. But this one, unless I'm missing something, it is not showing me the volume for the day, right? Anyway, so I think we're going to ignore, let's just do the average volume here, right? Average trading volume for Palantir, that's going to be about 86 million shares, just so you get an idea. The average trading volume for Meta is going to be 11.8 million, and then for Tesla 102 million, right? About 12 million, 102 million. So that's approximate. So that gives you an idea. 12 million shares of Meta are traded on an average. 100 million shares, almost, was it like 9 times? Maybe a little bit over 8 times, 8.5 times traded for Tesla, and pretty close for Palantir as well. So that gives you an idea of the volume, and that sort of, the trading volume, the actual price fluctuation on any given day is going to be reasonable. There's going to be a correlation between that and the trading volume. If you take, just to give you an idea, let's take something that, what can I think of that probably must have had a pretty rather low volume today. Let's see, DRI. Let's see, Darden Restaurants. Yeah, see the average volume for something like this is 1.3 million. And you could have other companies, like, was it like Worthington Steel, if I remember correctly? Worthington Enterprises. You look at that, the average volume is 200,000 shares, right? So you can see how there's a wide range. And if you're a day trader, would you want to day trade Worthington Enterprises? Maybe, maybe not, because there's not a whole lot happening. There's not too many people buying and selling it. Now, who's doing it, whether it's a retail investor or an institutional investor or a mutual fund, all of those things, we'll not get into in this particular course. I think sort of we spoke to it in the previous ones, at least to some extent, or we will do one that focuses on that entirely. But that gives you an idea of the trading volumes. Now, if you go here, let's look at Palantir. You look at this, you just keep an eye on this number here, the volume. So at 9:30, you see that close to 5 million shares were traded, then 1.7 million, 2 million, and then 1.6, 1.3, and kind of stayed, it dropped below a million. It went up over a million, 1.7, 1.2. So it's about the 1.3 million mark. This is every 5 minutes, right? I'm doing it every 5 minutes, by the way, for the day. So every 5 minutes, those were the number of shares that were traded. So 1 million, and then towards the middle part of the day, it kind of dropped to 600,000. It was lower volume relatively, and then it started picking up 1.5, 1.1, 1.2, and then we get to the last hour, 1.5, 1.1. Let's get to the last half hour and see 1.7, 1.7, 1.2, 1.2, 1.6, 5.1. Oh my God, that's 100 million shares traded, right? That was 100 million shares. I guess maybe that's 3:55 to 4 o'clock, right? So just when it closed, there was a big purchase, collectively a huge purchase. I don't know, maybe it's one fund or maybe a bunch of retail investors. We don't know who bought it, but somebody did collectively. 100 million shares were bought, right? So naturally the price went up. So that is kind of the volume, right? You've seen 1 million during the course of the day, and it ended up 100 times with 100 million at the end of the day. It opened at 5 million, right? 5 times. Just kind of keep that number in mind. I could write it down, but it's going to just be too many numbers. There's already quite a bit there. So keep that in mind for Palantir. I'm not going to close that actually. You know what? I'm going to open 3 different windows here. Let's do Meta, and then we'll make this Tesla because that's kind of the order we have listed there. Okay. So typically, for Palantir, 86 million shares average. Today we saw, I would love to see the average shares traded for the day. Palantir volume day. Oh, nice. This one's actually, oh no, today's data. First hour, midday, 11 more rows. Okay, thanks to Market Chameleon. Let's see what it shows here, right? The options volume was, oh, maybe it's today's volume, 200 million shares. I want to say that it doesn't say average, so this is probably today's volume. So maybe 200 million shares were traded, and it kind of makes sense because we saw 100 million at the end, and this is every 5 minutes, and for 6.5 hours. What is that? So that's 12 windows per hour, 672 plus another 6. Yeah, 678, right? 6 hours and a half hour, 78 5-minute windows, and if it's 1 million, it's already 78 million, and then you add 100 million at the end, it's 178 million. So that number is actually accurate. So there were 204 million shares traded. Average trade. Now we can actually jot this down. Today, 205 million shares traded, approximately. And let's look at. See, this is why you need different tools, different platforms, and subscriptions and whatnot. Adds up. Today was 32 million shares traded. So that's almost 3 times the average trading volume. And now we're going to go look at Tesla. 111 million shares traded. That's business as usual for Tesla, right? Now we can close. Let's go back here. We'll go to Tesla, and during the day, again, it started. The day opened at 5 million shares, 1.7, 1.4, 1.8, 1.3, 1.4 is pretty healthy. 900,000 drop below, and then 1.9, 1.6, 600,000 just about before 11 o'clock. And then the day, it starts to get quieter during this part of the day. 400,000, 500,000, 400,000, half a million. See, it slows down. To draw an analogy, if somebody who watches cricket and like different forms of cricket, like one day cricket, the first few overs, there's a lot of activity, and the last few there is, and then towards the middle part, of the game, things are pretty slow and quiet. It's kind of business as usual, and you go about the motions. That's sort of like what I've seen with the market after 10:30. And now you see less than half a million shares traded every 5 minutes. It got to 275,000-ish, 130. It would be nice to plot this as well. Half a million. So it was pretty even, right, during most of the day. And then 350, you see 2.6 million. That is more than, the first 5 minutes was 5.1, and then it was 1.7. So this is just second to the highest part of the day so far, which was the first as it opened, half of that 2.6 million. And then you have 22 million shares traded in the last 5 minutes, right? We saw 100 million shares in the last, I'm going to say 100 million in the last 5 minutes. And for Tesla, we are saying it's about 22 million in the last 5 minutes. Say approximately, so there's no confusion. Then we will look at last one, Meta. We'll just start with this. So the last minute was 21 million shares roughly. 21 million in last 5 minutes, right? So let's see what happened during the course of the day. When it opened, it was 1.9 million, 250,000, it dropped, and then 100,000, 200,000, 60, 50. So you see it's very quiet, right? The first 2.3, 1.9, and then it's really quiet all the way through. And then it was 600,000, this is at 350. So that's 2.3, 1.9, 600,000, the third highest, and then 20 million. So you get the picture. And there was a drop. A lot of people sold the last 5 minutes, which is what explains the drop. If you see the drop, when we saw the last 30 minutes, the last 8 minutes, 12 minutes is 1.3% drop because that many shares were traded. Out of the 32 million shares, 21 million was traded in the last 5 minutes. What is that number, right? It's about 70% of the entire volume happened in the last 5 minutes, right? So that's 70% of the entire volume. Another interesting number, 21 million or about 70% of entire day's volume, right? This is 22 million or 20%. That's still a big number, 20% in just the last 5 minutes. This is 100 million or, oh my God, it's 50%. That's, am I getting that right? Yeah, I think Palantir was 100 million, right? In the last, yeah, wow. So that's 100 million. 50% of the entire day's volume seems to have been traded in the last 5 minutes for Palantir, and it went up by 1.8%, right? So it affected the increase by 1.8. If you take 1.8 out of 8, that's about just shy of about 20% of the entire increase in terms of the price. So I would have expected that to be a little bit lesser. I mean, if it's 50%, let's look at the last, what happened in the last for Palantir. If you look at, yeah, around here, between 55, yeah, 55, around here, it was 7.83, and this is, yeah, that's interesting. So there was 50% was traded in the last 5 minutes. I'm kind of perplexed. 70, 20 and 50. So that gives you an idea. Now, I would actually like to know what was traded in the first few minutes as well, right? So let's look at Palantir. We look at 935, 6.8, wait, 5, 6.8, 8.8, 9.10.4, 11.6, 12.7, 14 million shares in the first half hour, right? 14 million in the first half hour. Okay, approximately first half hour. And then now let's see. There's a lot of numbers. Hopefully it's not confusing. It'd be better on a chart, but it's going to take more time there. 5.1, 6.9, 8.4, 10.2, 12, 13.5, 14.8, about 15 million shares. 15 million shares. Okay, and then last but not least, look at Meta. 2, 2.25, 2.35, 2.55, 2.65, 2.72, 2.83, about 3 million shares. Okay, I think that's it for the numbers, I promise. About 3 million in first half hour. Could have done the first hour, but it's okay. Okay, so one more time, out of the 200 million shares, 50% was traded in the last 5. 14 million is what? 7% in the first hour. 7 versus 50 for Palantir. 15 million is 15% versus 20. So that's kind of close. For Meta, it was twice. the delta. 3 million is 10%, 10 to 70, right? So the first hour, there was not a whole lot of activity for Meta. Things happened towards the latter part of the day. I mean, we can tell with the rest of what's happening here that that's kind of what happened. So when you digest all of these numbers, we looked at the first hour, the whole day's trading, what the ups and downs were, the highest and lowest points of the whole day, the highest and lowest points of the first hour, of the last half hour. What happened in the first hour, what happened in the last half hour in terms of plus or the minus, what happened in the last 8 to 12 minutes for each of these securities. And then last but not least, we looked at the total volume, the volume for each of those 5-minute windows during the first 30 minutes of the day and the last 5 minutes, what happened. Oh, you know what? I did one for last 5 minutes and the other one for the half hour. So the comparison is not right. For some reason, I thought it was both 30 minutes. No, one is 5 and one is 30. So let's go back and do this. 100 million in the last 5 minutes, 14 million in the whole hour. So that's big difference, which means for everything that we're looking at, 14 million is 7% of the whole volume happened in the first hour, but 20 or 50% of the volume happened in the last 5 minutes. 15% of the volume happened in the first hour, first half hour, 20% in the last 5 minutes, 10% in the first half hour, 70% in the last 5 minutes. So you can tell that today, a lot of things happen in the last few minutes, right? Maybe because it's a triple wedge day, maybe because it's a Friday, all of these different things expired because of the triple wedge day. So a number of those factors could have contributed, or I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the latter part of, not just latter. I mean, we have another week to go. Like what? I guess we have 5.5 more trading days to go this year because, Christmas Eve is half day. Market closes at 1 p.m., if I remember correctly, and it's closed on Christmas Day, right? So we got like 7 working days, and out of that, a day and a half is gone because the market's closed. So you kind of have just about a little over 5 days of trading left for 2024. So maybe people have to, worry about what the tax situation is looking like, whether they keep positions open, close positions, wash sale, and a number of other things come into play, or maybe they're just realigning their positions in investment for the year that is to come, 2025. So a lot of those things make a difference, but the idea, the focus in this particular course was just look at numbers, numbers, and more numbers. And I think we did look at plenty of numbers. What would be awesome? Awesome is if there's a way to just have Chat GPT or Copilot plot this in a graph. I would love to, plot this actually in a graph. We can try it, but I doubt it because it's and I have to, speak for uh, you know, I maybe it does it. I just have to figure out how to do it. I haven't done that before. So it'll be nice to see that. And that's where AI can, it's going to start making a difference, right? Rather than you manually extracting these numbers, what you want to do is take these numbers and more numbers and plot them on these charts and look at them pictorially. I don't know if any of these tools that we looked at actually does this because this is, again, things that you have to do over and beyond what the platform might support. So that's kind of what we talked about. And the tools we've used in this, certainly, before I forget, check out our other courses. It's not just day trading. We published a bunch of courses on other, just as an investor too. If you're an investor but not so much a day trader, thinking about the long haul, you're not a short-term trader. We published a few courses, to help you out as well. And everything is priced under like $10. Costs just about like a drink at Starbucks. Most of them less than that as well. And it's my hope is this is specific, it's pragmatic, it's short enough, it's not theory. It tells you sort of by direct experience. I'm not manufacturing something, and it's not just me sharing something here that I've not done before. It's stuff that I've done, and I was actively looking and sort of working on some of this today. So, which is why I just picked these securities in particular. So definitely check out our other courses. And if you're a course creator, hit us up as well. And in terms of the tools we use today, Y charts, look it up. We used bar charts. Each bar chart, barchart.com. Each of them is different from the other. And then we also looked at Market Chameleon, right? This one I don't have I haven't checked it out, but these I've used it. I have paid subscriptions for bar chart and Y chart. Y chart is expensive, very expensive. The others are fairly affordable, right? So you can take a look at that. I'm trying to think, if I were you when I'm watching this, what kind of questions would I potentially have? I think I've tried to address most of the questions that at least I would have had. What I would suggest is this is my way of dissecting these numbers and securities. You might do it differently, a little bit differently, or dramatically differently. That's entirely understandable. But the hope is this gives you an idea. Like, what does it mean to day trade? What does it mean to be a day trader? Before we close, let's just look at the number of. I don't think there's very many people. Number of day traders in America or USA. Yeah, it says this number seems abysmally small. It says 4 to 5,000 day traders. On average, 450,000 individual day traders. Oh, this looks much better. But is this just the US? Um, While only 1 to 3% are able to consistently outperform the market, more than 97% will be better off investing in the broader stock market. This includes you. Yeah, so this is certainly not for everybody, right? The data is very clear that day trading is not profitable. So, if you're doing it, again, there are very few people who do it. But, to each our own. It says very few people day trade, so you're missing out on anything. But at the same time, with the barrier to entry is that high, meaning so many people are not doing it, which means there is the difficulty and complexity, but there is also the opportunity as well. If everybody is doing something, maybe it's not difficult enough. Maybe it's the barrier to entry is too low, so maybe it's not that profitable, right? There's not that lucrative. There's different ways to look at that. It says only about 4% of day traders are able to make a living from day trading, and I can see that. A large portion of them are between the ages of 18 and 34. So you can look all of that up. So some of what we've learned here is directly applicable to day trading, but if you think about it, it goes beyond day trading, right? I'm going to stop share for a second. Yep. So you can take this and extrapolate this to the whole year or to a larger timeline if you are the kind of investor who, who purchases positions or securities and just forgets about them or keeps them for a long time. It's still important to know some of these numbers, right? The type of numbers you might be looking at as an investor would be fairly different. And I think we've talked about it in some other course, like P ratios, like the PEG ratios, the PS, the price to sales ratios, the EBITDA, and a number of other things, the financial data and metrics. So, definitely check out some other courses if you have an interest as an investor, or you want to be an investor, or you are an investor. But I think it's good to know both sides. And what you end up choosing to do, it's entirely up to you. What works for you. You want to try different things and see where your comfort, your window of comfort is, and then see what's lucrative, right? And go with that. But that said, I think it's good to know. Like, ignorance is not bliss. It's good to know, and then you can figure out what makes sense, what works for you, and what doesn't work for you. I think with that, I think we can probably call it done with this course. This is part 3 of day trading. As we think of more, we'll publish more. And again, if you want to sort of pick up from where we leave off and add more because you're a financial person and you know a whole lot more about this than I can ever imagine knowing, then you're welcome to create the content, work with us, and publish it and monetize your content. Until next time, thank you.